this is the leader. This is the Grandmaster J that we were just talking about. He, you know, it's kind of embarrassing when one of your people has an accidental discharge and shoots 3 of your own members. But people have been sort of memeing on them and making fun of them. like somebody was earlier in the comments talking about, I guess they fucked around. Or no, yeah. Anyway. So in his in a very recent video, he chose to respond to teach us a thing or two about guns. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen this, but this is some gold. And we're going to correct the record just a little bit. And then I think it's going to expose a couple points about leading a militia and maybe not being quite so well educated on guns, which is kind of dumb. Okay, let's play this.
Second, we're here on the morning mental. I'm gonna show you just how stupid some people are. Give me a weapon. This weapon right here? Yes, this is a bullpup.
It's a bullpup.
Give me the bullpup. Yes, sir.
Give him the bullpup. Okay, pop quiz. How many people know what a bullpup is? I'll wait 15 seconds. Put it in chat. How many people know what a bullpup is? What makes a firearm a bullpup? before the big reveal. A frontal cortex says he knows what a bullpup is. What is it? Don't Google it. It's fine if you don't. Listen. Admitting ignorance is very admirable. It's not an embarrassment. It's kind of what this guy might ought to have done. Mag behind trigger, says Kurt B. That's basically it, yes. So it's when the action is behind the trigger. That's the sort of technical definition. It's a very specific subset of weapons that makes something... Here, I'll just Google it for you. Bullpup. Images. That's a bullpup. So you have the trigger right here, and the action's back here. I don't know. Hopefully you can see my my mouse moving. That's a bullpup. They were pretty popular a few years ago. Okay, let's see this guy's bullpup.
This is my first weapon that I ever bought. I bought this.
So Magwell, trigger group, action. This is just an AR. This is not a bullpup. So the leader of this militia. Oh, you get it.
Weapon back in 1990 in Germany. This is an XR-15 shorty. We call it a bullpup because this bitch.
Now, I had never heard, admitting ignorance is admirable, remember, I had never heard of something called an XR. I mean, this is obviously an AR platform, so I had to go look up what an XR was. Apparently, it was just a specific set of ARs that were manufactured in response to, I think, some specific laws, and you guys are welcome to correct me if I'm wrong on XR, but it's basically an AR platform. And
it's got
nothing to do with a bullpup.
In Germany. This is an XR-15 shorty. We call it a bullpup because this bitch got kicked to it. This bitch will knock you the fuck down.
So, I mean, maybe that's his nickname. Maybe he calls it a bullpup and he doesn't know what a bullpup is, and it kicks hard, so he calls it a bullpup. I mean, maybe, okay, that could be a nickname, fine. But that weapon cannot knock you down unless you're a little kid. And anybody, and this is what's suspicious, anybody that's shot these weapons would know that. Why would you say that? Why would you claim that that would knock your bitch ass down? Not sure about that.
The interesting thing about this weapon is if I pull back the bolt.
Watch closely.
See the bolt? There's no bullet in there. Pay very close attention. If I'm not paying attention and I take this weapon and I bang it, look what just happened. The bolt goes forward. the weapon has fired. I didn't touch the trigger. I just simply banged it on the table. If you sit down and you bang this on the ground, you will blow your head off. It happens in basic training every day. And you all get a letter and a flag saying your son was killed in a training accident. An old shotgun, if you drop it, it will fire. So don't believe these motherfuckers running around talking about you shouldn't have had your hand on the trigger. You don't have to have your hand on the trigger. Let me show you again. I'm going to sit down. I'm tired. You just committed an incident. Your hand was not on the trigger.
This guy just committed an incident. So, let's do a show and tell. First of all, let's be fair and let's clarify. He just went from an AR platform to a shotgun. And there are certainly some shotgun platforms that if you drop in the wrong way, they can misfire. They can fire if dropped. That's true. And I think he says after this, in fact, let's play it out so that we don't take anything out of context. I'm pretty sure that he says here in a second that the person that had the accidental discharge at the event was carrying a shotgun, though he was very non-specific about what type of shotgun. I think he said Remington, but he didn't even specify what kind. Well, let's listen to it.
Doesn't make a difference whether, and it was on safe. Unless you understand weapons for real. Don't you listen to these motherfuckers who have no intention of ever picking up one and who don't understand that weapons go off by themselves all the time. Now that I've shown you that. So the person who passed out from the heat dropped their weapon. The weapon fired into the cement. We're very fortunate because when you have 3,500 people and one person drops their weapon, 3 people got hit with concrete. Why? They were standing in a formation waiting to be inspected. Why was he locked and loaded? You don't know nothing about weapons, do you? He wasn't locked and loaded, you dumbass. It's an old Winchester 20 gauge.
Okay, Winchester 20 gauge. He doesn't specify what
There is no
model.
safety. The safety is you don't bang the motherfucker around.
That has nothing to do with an AR, though. And it's clearly demonstrable. Like, if this person was carrying a rifle and they fell asleep carrying a gun, which is negligent, and they dropped it, it's still really bad. I'm not sure about shooting the concrete and the concrete popping up and wounding 3 people. That's pretty dubious. I mean, the stuff about the AR, and we're gonna do a show and tell here. I'm gonna have to move my mic away. But this is really easy stuff. And the fact that sort of a leader of a militia, a leader of apparently 3,000 armed people, isn't familiar with how the AR platform functions and that it cannot misfire from an open bolt position. That's like, maybe if you had a full auto sear in, that's a thing that could happen. I'm not familiar with full auto weapons. If that's what he's talking about, then what I'm about to say is wrong. But the semi-auto weapons do not function like that. And it's pretty easy to show. So I'm going to talk we have people in many other countries that are not, maybe they've never had a chance to interact with these before. So we'll just give a quick explanation of how these things work. So you have the bolt in here. You have the charging handle here that pulls the bolt back. And then there's a catch on the outside that you can hold down to lock the bolt open, which is what we just saw him do in this video. Now, the way that you would release that is either by hitting the lever to release the bolt. Basically, it releases the blocking lever. Tell me what this is called. Gun nuts in the audience. Or, if you wanted to, you could just pull the handle back, pull the bolt back slightly, and then now the bolt goes forward. So bringing the bolt back just slightly releases the catch, and the bolt is able to move forward freely. Well, banging the weapon, let me see if I can, I can't hit it on my table, but you can see what I just did, right? I just banged it on the bottom with my hand, and it did that. It was enough motion to release the bolt. Now, what would this do if this weapon was loaded? Well, I can show you. It's not a mystery. Now, watch me shoot myself here. I'm just kidding. That won't happen because I've practiced. So, this is a loaded mag, which we can load here. Now, normally, if I hit the lever to release the bolt, a round is pulled into the chamber by the bolt coming forward. That's what's supposed to happen when you release the bolt. So if you're supposed to operate the gun by releasing the bolt to come forward, if that happens accidentally, now this is where, the gun is supposed to go off on its own, right? I didn't hear any explosions, did you guys? So the only thing that happened was that the bolt came forward like it was designed to do, grabbed a round, and chambered it. And you can see that right here. I don't know if you saw that come out. The round came out of the chamber. Gun's now empty. And this is part of the safety, just the safety habits that you get into when you own a gun. This is a big responsibility. Like, especially if you have children in the house, folks. Like, you have to know how to use these things safely. And not only that, you have to go well beyond that. You have to force yourself to get into habits, because the times when you get yourself shot, the times when you hurt people, have accidental discharge is when you're distracted and not thinking. And so you have to have these habits so ingrained that even when you're in an accidental moment of non-thinking about what you're doing, which is already bad enough with firearms, but you have to have these habits that protect you even on accident. And one of those is anytime you fire, you're anytime after you clear the chamber, like I just did, you check it visually. Some people even pull the charging handle back a couple times just to make sure it's clear. But you aim to the ground and you decock it by firing that way. The gun's clear now. No one got shot. That's not how ARs work. And anybody that had used one would know that. And I'm not just trying to show off. Like, I'm not some operator. I'm a guy that knows how to use the tools I own to an average level. And this guy's the leader of a multi-thousand member militia? And worse than that, you're spreading disinformation about how these things operate, making them sound far more reckless and dangerous than they actually are. Chamber flags are great. I think one of the first marches that Don't Comply did, maybe a couple of the first ones, they had chamber flags in just to help prevent, because like when you're marching with so many people, accidents are going to happen if you get enough numbers involved. It's dangerous. And it totally, like we talked about earlier, it totally co-opts your event and makes you look like untrained, reckless idiots, which is what happened to this guy.